Yes, g'day guys. Welcome back to the Ball Logic Fantasy Basketball Podcast. We are live for the Week 4 NBA SuperCoach preview. What a week 3 was. A week that I don't want to talk about. So I will throw over to Mattrix, who's taken out the... And he's taken out the week for 1, but I'll tell you what. We were just talking about it before we came on. Bloke can't find a clown wig to save his life, but he's more than happy to claim the win when he gets it 1 out of 3 weeks.
Well, I have always said that, much like Lance Stevenson, I am born ready. And I'm always ready to succeed, whether it be by 3 points, whether it be by 103 points. I'm just there, ready with my clown cap, because you've just got to expect excellence every single week, Braino. You do. I've come second, and third, so it hasn't. I'd actually probably rather come last, and first. What's the saying from Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby? If you're not first, you're last. That's 100%. First, you're last.
Yeah, good accent too. Horse, mate, you're flying though. You know, we shouldn't ignore your rank. And by the way, speaking of rank, I've still got Mattrix just by a little bit, so I'm going to hold on to that for dear life. Mate, 140th, absolutely flying at the moment.
We're doing all right. The research that we're putting in behind the scenes is it's doing well. And like we talk about 50-50 calls, some of my calls that I've made have gone my way, whereas with other people, it may not have. So it swings and roundabouts. No doubt my time will come where something will flop for me. But let's enjoy the ride while it's happening. 140. I don't think I've been this high in any sport before. So yeah, let's go. Have a look at Matrix. He's pumped being bloody 4,500th at the moment.
Hey, you know what? I already said the horse that doesn't lead the first corner goes. And look, you might be a Pegasus at the moment, but I tell you what, we need to appreciate all that is the clown happening right now. If I wasn't living out of boxes, I do live and breathe the clown.
It is a good time. It is one of the things that we implemented in the NRL season, and it has to be done every week. And you know what? I'm a man true to my word. You know, like the start of the season, we said the clown week's going to come out for the person who scores last every single week, and I scored last. And I had a genuine fucking shocker this week as well. 998. It was awful. Somehow still had green arrows though. This
is the first time I've seen the clown get up.
Welcome. It comes with a tie as well. Actually, I need to find it somewhere when one of you guys are talking. I'll go and look for it.
It's a challenging wank, let me tell you.
Yeah, you can put that one on your wall.
Yeah, it's not as hard as you'd try.
But no, it's got to be done. I'm true to my word. As I'm sure Mattrix is as well. He owes us a clown wig a little bit later in the season, that's for sure. But we've talked about how we went. Let us know how you went. Let us know in the comments. Drop your score in. Let us know who flopped, who carried the whole way as well. And if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. Please hit like. Give it a thumbs up. It really does help the show get out to more people. I know you can't really take me seriously with a clown wig and a nose on, but please help. Help grow the show. We do appreciate it. We put a lot of time into it, so hopefully you guys can climb the rankings, beat your mates, and make some cash this NBA SuperCoach season. And for those of you listening on audio, thank God you can't see me. Follow and give us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that as well. Now, the Ball Logic Unlimited League. First of all, we need to let everybody know what the code is. I'm trying to actually get into my phone, but it doesn't recognize my face. So that is a challenge. 817. 817-149 is the code. 817-149. It's not too late to join. So get on in. Take us on. The winner this week, Philly Cheese, coached by Subscriber. So I'm assuming that the name that he's put in was too rude and they've gone and changed it to Subscriber. So shout out to Philly Cheese. 1268 this week. That brings him or her into 24th overall.
Wow.
Very, very big week. So you've taken it out, mate. You won yourself a standard squeeze prize pack. So get in touch with us and we'll sort that out for you. Just looking at his team, Jokic captain for obvious reasons. He had Tyrese Maxey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Coward on field. Jaylen Brown got 109. He had Alex Sarr with a 117. Giannis with 148. Everything. The only move he could have made that improved his score was Shepherd on field for Edgecombe, which no one was doing this week. So well done to Subscriber. For that win. That's a banger. Good name, Philly Cheese as well. So reach out to us on socials, mate, and we'll link you up with a standard squeeze prize pack thanks to the standard squeeze. Let's have a chat about some injuries though, shall we? Horse, I might throw over to you, mate, so I can try and find this clown tie. Talk to us about the injuries.
Yeah, I can. Let's. Have we got them somewhere here? I don't know where they are.
Don't hurt yourself, kid. LeBron.
Tyler Hero and LeBron James. Look, mate, you're 4,500th. You're coming from way back in the straight, mate. You just wait your turn, brother. Tyler Hero and LeBron James, 1 to 2 weeks. Mattrix, you reckon either of them come back earlier than that?
Not really. I think Tyler Hero's probably a bigger chance because they probably need him where they're sitting. But yeah, and he's a bit younger though. I don't think they'll rush LeBron back. So.
Yep. And then we've got Walker Kessler. He is done for the year if anyone did have him. So if you do, just get rid of him. Jalen Green, being someone that's done a hamstring tendon injury in the past, he grabbed quite high on that hamstring. It doesn't look good. They say reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks. Braino and I were talking off air before jumping on live here, and we both think it's going to be more like 10 to 12. So if you've got any stocks in Jalen Green, you're either moving him to IR, or if you've got him in SuperCoach, you're just getting rid of him more completely, aren't you, Braino?
Who are we talking about? Sorry, I was trying to find a tie.
Jalen Green.
Yeah. He's it's no good. We spoke in the fantasy preview about the fact that it's high up on the hammy, and it doesn't look good. So, Grayson Allen becomes a partial option. There's many options that I prefer that we'll talk about later. But, yeah, he's probably the guy. Ryan Dunn maybe gets some burn there as well for Phoenix, yeah.
Yep, Trae Young, Atlanta still probably 3 weeks away. Brandon Miller's still 1 week away. So if you're looking at Con Knipple this week, I reckon that might be a fairly handy buy. We'll talk about him later on and other options there at Charlotte. Benedict Mathurin still week to week away. And Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets. Hamstring, they say 4. I think it's probably more 4 to 6 weeks when we're talking the Brooklyn Nets. So, Matrix, does this open up more opportunity for your Yago Demin, or however you pronounce his name, and others at the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, actually had a little punt on Diorman today and got the chocolates. So, sorry I didn't do it in our punt club. So, sorry, guys. But Diorman scored well today. I think there's some opportunity for him, and especially if you hold him in SuperCoach, he's one that you want. One I did notice that probably happened since we did that list is LaMelo Ball's been ruled out for tomorrow early. That leaves a fair bit of opportunity for like Sion James and Trey Mann. So yeah.
Probably extra burn for Con Knipple, who is genuinely if you don't have him in your team for SuperCoach, like he's a good option this week, I reckon. Like he's a guy I'm looking to bring in this week. I think he's one of the ones we missed. 4 games. Charlotte play 4 games. They've got a pretty good schedule. 4-4-3-4, I think, over the next month.
They do.
So rate it. Yeah. You know what the funny thing is about this show so far is that Mattrix has got more shit about being a clown than I have wearing a clown wig.
Do you have to keep it on for the whole show?
No.
I don't know. I'm just maybe trying to set the set. No, to be fair, shout out to Josh, the Whisperer, who wore it for a whole show. Every time he got the clown, he just wear it for the whole show. We're like, bro, you can take it off. He's like, nah, I'll wear it the whole show. So I might just set the precedent. I might set the precedent and wear it the whole show, just so that when Mick eventually comes last, we can enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I'd be the only bloke on here where it actually improved my looks, so I can deal with that. But Matrix, before we move off injuries, mate, there is one that I didn't detail in the injury report, and that's Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat. So that's quite a big injury for Miami, and it opens up such a plethora of options when we're talking starting 5, who's going to get the minutes. Khalil Ware's obviously going to be a big beneficiary of it. But are you looking at anyone like Nikola Jovic even? We saw last game he popped off. Is there any consistency there, or do you think that's just a flash in the pan and we should ignore that?
Oh, I mean, like, I just don't know. Like, when it comes to, and I hate to reference fantasy so much because it's a SuperCoach podcast. When it comes to making the decision at the start of the week, I don't trust Jovic for the full week, whereas I trust him as a streamer in fantasy. But I think Khalil Ware's where the opportunity comes in just because his game's a little more similar. Like, I think Jovic is going to get the bump from playing a similar role to what Khalil Ware's been playing, but I think Khalil Ware's going to step into that Bam role. So I really think the big bump is going to go to Khalil, and he hasn't set the world on fire to start the season. So without looking, I would imagine that his price has dropped a little bit, and maybe we could get him at a handy price. Like, I know, Horse, I was talking to you off air on the way home, and we were talking about 10, 11K options to facilitate some of the other trades that we're going to do. Like Kalel probably fits that mold.
He's dropped 100K since starting the year, so he's just over $10 million. That's right. Braino, back to you, mate.
Thanks, I'm back. Yes, that thing's itchy as hell, so I'm not wearing that for the rest of the show.
Gross.
It's terrible. I don't know how Josh did that for a full show.
Deserves to be gross, though.
It does, absolutely. Now that we've talked about the injuries, we can have a quick chat about who was hot and cold last week. Let's start with the hot guys. This is why I'm hot. The hottest man, the hottest commodity in NBA SuperCoach, Nikola Jovic, 208 points, 24% captain last week, which is actually really surprising because I thought that number should be way higher. He was 32% owned. I can guarantee that'll continue to go up. But yeah, massive Mattrix, wasn't he? 208. This is exactly why you needed to buy him last week, and he was the number one option.
Yeah, it's really funny that I was probably the one out of all of us that was toying with not going there, or you guys were talking about going even on the 3-game week. And yeah, we all just jumped on, we all just captained, and like, despite our jokes, we all managed, almost 1,000 plus this week, which 998 would have been all of our highest score coming into this week. But realistically, like Nikola Jokic, anytime on a 4-game week, I can't see a reason I would ever not captain him. And look, 2 weeks ago, I probably would have said the same about Wemby. And you would have seen in my articles, I've got some really good questions because Wemby's had a bit of a quiet week. But I don't know, man. Like, Jokic just needs to be owned. And like the SuperCoach gods gave us a little bit of a price reduction. I think we just take it and run, and maybe Jokic is just a hold. Like, flex allows us to have an extra center. And that's how I'm seeing flex right now.
I think Jokic ends up scoring a 4-game score on a 3-game week every week. We look at what Giannis put up, 148 he got this week, and that's in a 4-game week. Jokic put up more than that in 3 games before the final game. So, you're looking at a guy that will be on you can just consider him on a 4-game week every single week. With the way that he scores, the type of scores he puts up. So I've seen, and everybody who went Wemby to him last week, Corey Blackledge in the chat said, lots of people went Wemby to him. It was awesome. Paid dividends for you this week. Well played, took the risk, and it paid off. But in saying that now, are you doing Jokic back to Wemby now that Wemby's on a 4-game week? Because, Wemby is that kind of guy with that ceiling, as we haven't seen it over the last couple of weeks, really. He's had a couple of down weeks, but he's the guy that can hurt you as well as a non-owner. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the people without Wemby do this week. So, plenty to consider there. Giannis was huge as well, 148 for him. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 145, continues to put up some really good scores there. OKC on a 3-game week this week, Horse. So I've seen people trading out Shai. What's your plan there? Are you looking to try and cash in on these guards now that are at that really nice price, going to make a bit of cash?
Yes, but my trade is not going to be. I guess it's conventional in a way, but it's not something that you'd probably be familiar with SuperCoach. And I don't want to give too much away because I'll release what I'm doing later on in our Patreon. But yeah, it's pretty much a sideways move that I'll be doing from that position. Yep, fair enough. Jalen Duren, big surprise package of this week, wasn't he? He's been monstrous over the last week and a half. 144 points for him. Detroit's schedule is a little bit up and down though, 3-4, 3-4. So it's hard to get. He's more than happy to play him on a 3-game week, Matty. But it's one of those ones where it's like, can he keep this kind of production up? That's pretty much the question.
Yeah, and also being center only, he's the only guy that, like, you play in Jokic and then you're using your flex for Duren. The exciting thing for me is he's been the best player in Detroit at the moment, at least SuperCoach score-wise. Whether you think that he's more important than Cade probably goes game by game. But right now, like, when he's pulling in 22 boards during games during the week, like, it's hard not to use him. I just think, like, you could trade him in on a 2-game week and get him at pretty good value. I think you're kind of chasing last week's points, kind of like Şengün in week 1. Duren could very easily just go back to 25 points, which is closer to what he's priced at on a 3-game week. That's 75, and then you're starting to get a bit disappointed. Like, that's something that maybe a Bazelis or somebody could score on a 4-game week. Like, yeah, I don't know, maybe chasing last week's points a bit with Duran, but he's been huge. Detroit looked great on 4-game weeks. He is a play.
For sure. Agreed. And Tyrese Maxey, horse to kick things or to round things out in the hot guys, 131. We called it, on the show last week as a guy that you should be looking at. For sure. Very cheap for what you're going to get from him. But it was a 1-week play, wasn't it? Coming into a 2-game week, you probably just need to now, if you got on him, you just trade him out to, there's a few options that are putting their hand up this week at that price point.
Yeah, 100%. You could go sideways into Booker, or if you've banked some cash, you could bring in your Lucas or your SGAs. So he does look really good, and he's definitely an option moving forward after the 2-game week.
Absolutely. Let's move into the cold guys. I've got a real bee in my bonnet about this bloke, Steph Curry. Now, 23 points, 1 game out of the 4 games scheduled to play. I held him. He ended up scoring my worst score, and it dropped out of my team, so thank God for flex. But COVID, I didn't even know that was still a thing. So apparently he's missed the week due to COVID. I'm not going to blame him too much for that. It's pretty brutal at times, but that hurt. Old. He is old. Yep. Probably still one of the fittest players in the NBA, though, to be completely fair. The bloke runs more kilometres in that game than I've seen you run at the local park on a Tuesday afternoon, Mattrix. So
You follow me on Strava, so that's a big call.
I do. But no, more of a frustration call than anything. But he, we'll do our buy, hold, and sell in the Patreon. I'm sure that he will feature in one of those sections, and it won't be the buy or the hold. Ace Bailey, 26 points for him. We'll call him cold. I just don't think he's ever not been cold all season. You started to see a little bit of life from him, Matty, but if you started with him, he hasn't been a problem up until now because he's just been riding your bench doing nothing for you. But like now that we've got a bit of flexibility with trades and money this week and some low cash guys putting their hand up with low break-evens, is it time to move him on?
Yeah, I think so. And then what was it? He had an issue in both his legs at some stage. So he started to come in, and the whole time he's been playing, he's been on minutes restrictions. He hasn't played well enough to rise in price. So I think that you can trade him out, chase some cash, and then I think maybe in 3 or 4 weeks when he starts to get off these minutes restrictions, once he starts to hit his straps. And just remember, he's playing the same position as Lauri Markkanen, who needs to be on the floor at all times, because Utah haven't pulled the old jackpot on the tank yet. They're still trying to win games. So Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen will be playing a hell of a lot of minutes. And then once, the Olympic torch gets passed from Lauri Markkanen to Ace Bailey when they really start to lean into the tank, I think we'll see 30 minutes per night. He's going to be a great downgrade later on in the season.
It's when Utah decide it's time to trade Lauri Markkanen to a contender, get some picks, and just load up for next year for the lottery. So then Ace Bailey gets a clear pathway to some minutes and gets a chance to just ball out after the All-Star break. So that's when it'll happen.
Value? A first and a second?
I think he's worth at least a first. Yeah. He's not worth 2 firsts though. You're probably right. Yeah.
2 cans,
first and a
2 cans of 2 cans of Pepsi Max and a packet of salt and vinegar chips.
Dude, the dude just dropped the first 50 piece in Utah in 30 years, and you're giving him 2 cans of Pepsi Max? Fuck
you underestimate salt and vinegar chips, mate.
As long as they're grain waves, I can get around that. Grain wave increased the value.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pepsi Max is no good for you.
No, it's true. Cut and dry all the way. Colin Murray-Boyles, 27, just not really getting the minutes there, sadly. Even though with Jakob Poeltl down now, we just haven't seen the production from him. Keyshawn George was a popular buy a couple of weeks ago now, 33 for him, so pretty quiet, really, Horse. Like, you'd be disappointed if you were buying Keyshawn George. Thankfully, at the price, it doesn't hurt you too much.
No, it doesn't, but definitely disappointing. Those that bought him in would have expected a little more, especially given his 50-odd point SuperCoach game he bought up in, was it week 1?
Yeah, week 1. Yeah, it was. That's obviously what catfished everybody in. And look, he's still going to be better than this, but I think we know that Keyshawn George in the past has been a pretty inefficient scorer. So you're going to get flashes of that in games where he will score sub-10 SuperCoach points due to all the missed shots and turnovers. So
look, Kizza brings up a good point, Mattrix. Luka was only worth 1 first rounder.
and an all-star.
Yeah.
It's
great. Like, I don't know. Everybody's ragging out that. AD's still great.
He is.
Yeah. The other two cold guys, Jonathan Kuminga, only 41 on a 4-game week. So that was a bit disappointing, especially when he had the opportunity to be the guy this week. With no Jimmy Butler missing, he missed a couple of games. Obviously, Steph Curry missed 3 games. So Jonathan Kuminga not really grabbing the bull by the horns, so to speak, this week when he did have the opportunity, sadly. And Mattis Bazelis, I've got him in here as maybe the sixth cold guy. More so because I think there was that game of 0 that he had. I think it was yesterday for the Bulls. And that's sadly what he can do at times. He can be really inefficient. He can turn the ball over a lot. Not an amazing free throw shooter. So if things don't work out for him, Matty, it's, as much of a good option as he is, and he's a guy who can put up 30 plus points in a game, he can also put up sub 5.
Yeah, and God doesn't give it 2 hands. Like, he is still a kid, and on this young team, and they just kind of have to keep riding him when it doesn't work out. And when negatives are such a prominent, I suppose, factor of SuperCoach, you just got to take the good with the bad. I was lucky enough to not play him this week, but I tell you what, I was considering it over Cooper Flag. Even Cooper was playing more games, so yeah, I'm glad I didn't. So
yeah, for sure. And again, look, the Bulls come into a couple of 4-game weeks soon. You just got to get through next week. So I think at the moment his break even's only like sub 10, so he's fine for now. But hopefully makes a bit more cash for us. Let's move into and talk about the schedule.
He's heating up.
Now, the big talking point. Actually, no, this is a bigger talking point. Matty, is this a debut?
Oh no! I think he jumped on during Mally's podcast with the fantasy pod. But do you want to say goodbye and good night to everyone?
Good night.
God, love that. Good night.
Good night, mate.
That's the best way to get involved in a podcast as well, isn't it? Love that.
Yeah.
Now let's have a chat about the 2-game week, because it's obviously Philly this week. Sadly, VJ Edgecombe. Now the question is, what do we do with VJ Edgecombe? Because Philly is the only team on a 2-game week. Now, I think his break even's 21 in 2 games. He obviously has shown us, Horse, that when Joel Embiid plays, he's definitely taken a bit of a back seat, hasn't he? So,
Yeah.
Is there concern for you moving forward with Edgecombe?
There is. Yes. And I say that because they're on a 2-game week this week. He's got a break even of 21. He was pretty lucky to get the points that he got today. He hit 2 late threes I've gone blank against whoever they played today. But when we're talking 2-game week, Philadelphia, it's not a back-to-back. Embiid's going to play in both. Paul George is edging closer to a return. It doesn't amount well to VJ Edgecombe. Edgecombe is a stepping stone for us. He's not going to be a keeper. He's a cash generator. So you've got to ask yourself, if you can afford to, trade sideways from him into another rookie, for example, Con Knipple, who has 4 games this week and has a better runway to score more points over someone that's got 2 games and potentially going to be hampered by other players in the rotation. So, yeah, I think he's a sell. Yeah.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a hold. I think you just need to play him on your bench. I think that he has showed a lot more promise than Con Knipple. I will maybe bring in Con Knipple, but I haven't seen anything that's amounted to what VJ Edgecombe has shown. And I think you just need to slam a guy like this on your bench in a 2-game week and then just wait. And even if you're not playing him on a 3-game week, you can just slam him on your bench in SuperCoach, and you don't get penalised for it. I think he's definitely a hold, because this is a $10 million player, and you're selling him after making $2.5 million. I don't think it's enough, and I don't think it's what VJ can make.
That's fair.
I'm probably further in the sell camp than the hold camp, purely because it just depends on what your bench option is that comes on court for you. Like, I've got Cedric Coward, who would be fine on a 3-game week, but he has a 3-game week. Reed Shepherd has a 3-game week, and that's my bench at the moment. So I've got to rely on one of those 2 guys to play over VJ Edgecombe, and it doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence. I'm happy to play Con Knipple this week on court if I bought him. 4-game week, no LaMelo in game 1 at least, and then, we've seen what he's done without LaMelo, Con. He's been awesome.
Brandon Miller this week.
No Brandon Miller for at least the week. And then you make the decision next week. He's break even. He'll make you some cash. at the worst case, but I reckon he could probably put up 80-plus points this week as a starter. So, yeah, that's, I guess, what you need to weigh up is, who is your bench option that you're going to be bringing in? Because I don't hate trading VJ Edgecombe out this week and bringing him straight back in next week on the 4-game week. There's nothing stopping you from doing that either. So, it's max trades. You don't lose them, you use them, you lose them. And I found myself really struggling to work out what my third trade would be, let alone even if I needed to boost again this week. So, we're going to find ourselves with weeks where I'm like, I don't know what trade to make. So this kind of trade out then trade back in could be a tactic that you use for weeks like this.
If it's not Grayson Allen, delete app.
Fuck off. He's a Grizzly at heart forever, no matter what.
Sorry, I might trip up there.
Yeah, we'll move on from that. The teams that you need to target this week, because I guess, we've got a couple of a few teams that you need to target when it comes to the next 4 weeks, and moving forward in 4-week blocks seems to help us. The Pelicans have 4 games in a row of 4-game weeks. This is where their schedule really opens up. I think they go 6 4-game weeks in a row. They're the number 1 team that are putting their hand up as options. Is there anybody there for the Pels that's enticing you aside from the obvious cheapie right now?
Derek Queen.
Yep.
I really like him. If they give him an opportunity to play, we've seen that he's a bit of a jack of all trades. He can assist the ball. He can play defense. He's got some really nice touch around the basket. The only thing is that they're not quite sure how they're going to play him alongside Zion. So he won't be a trade-in for me, but I think there's definite potential there that he could make some serious coin in SuperCoach.
I think, and obviously we'll talk about Jeremiah Fears soon as well. He's a nice little cheapie downgrade for the Pels that could be playable. It's questionable whether you'd play someone like a Coward over Fears even on the 4-game week, because I think Coward's still a much better option as a player. But yeah, the Pelicans definitely have the most favourable schedule. Mattrix, it's sad that we don't have reliable options on the Pels. We're talking about Trey Murphy, who put up 40-odd points in 1 game and then did sweet FA the rest of them. Zion can't stay on the court. He's out. So, there's no real kind of big scorer from this team. Otherwise, it'd be the easiest decision in the world.
Yeah, and I nearly wish with Derek Queen we just knew what we knew. He just went and goes and gets 0 assists and then 7 assists and then 2 assists and then 8 assists and then, seems to be on that minutes cap of 20 and then plays 26. I don't know, and it's a center, which seems to be the hardest one to pick, but there's better options at 15 mil, but I wish Herb was a better option at his price. Because I think that he probably has the talent to be a viable SuperCoach option, but I don't know, man. This Pels coach, if he makes it to 36 games this year, I think I'll eat my hat. My crown hat.
Yeah, your clown wig.
Is it? It's Willie Green, isn't it?
Yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers legend. Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. Not Pelicans coaching legend. Not yet.
Yeah, no. Pelicans coach. Full stop.
Yes. Pell's great first option with all those games. They play the most games over the next month. But there are 6 teams that play 1 game less than the Pels and probably have some better options across their field. So Atlanta Hawks, the Charlotte Hornets, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Dallas Mavericks, Milwaukee Bucks, and the Portland Trailblazers all play 4-3-4-4 over the next month. So they're the teams, if you're looking for trade-in options, and I'm sure we'll see a few of them when we talk about the most traded in and out players, they're the teams you're going to be focusing in on over the next month to give you that run of games that you need. And of course, Horse, I'm sure we're going to buy someone from these teams and someone's going to get a rest and they're not going to get 4 games at all.
100%. Last week I went early on Jeremiah Fears, knowing that the schedule that they've got coming up and the fact that he's the starting point guard there. Is he doing enough for me to start him? The inconsistency probably hurts him a little bit, but that cash generation for us is nice. So if you've got the ability to bring in a Fears this week, I'd be highly encouraging you to do so.
Yep, 100%. All right, let's move into hot topics for this week. It is very hot. Of course, Hot Topics is brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. For those of you looking to get into the home loan market, you want to buy your first home. Maybe you want to put some cash back in your pocket, get a better interest rate. Ryan can do it all for you. The link is in the description below. It doesn't cost you a thing. He gets paid by the banks and he's got over 40 lenders on panel. So hit up Ryan and Thanks for Ryan for supporting the show. Now, hot
You know
topics,
what?
I guess.
The big fella struggled on the bolters last week, but he was pretty good on a long run. Old Ryan. So
Yeah, good. Okay, good to know. I mean, talks up a big game, Hamo, doesn't he? So,
he didn't like the fruitiness. I was like drinking it. I was singing fruit salad by the Wiggles, and he just couldn't get around it.
nah, rough. No, I mean, if you can't drink bolters, I'm sorry, but that's just an automatic red flag, isn't it?
Mhm.
I did finish his first one, so look, that's something that can be said. And I don't want to turn people off dealing with Ryan from Astute Newstead because he's better at his job than he is at drinking. But yeah, I just thought I'd let the fans know. So
I can vouch for him though. He has just helped me with my home loan and got me a much better interest rate, which has saved me money. So thank you, Ryan. I know you're
What a
listening.
man.
hang out with him. Just don't drink beers with him.
Yeah, especially on work time. For him, I'm sure he might get in trouble for that. Maybe, who knows? The hot topic this week is ranking the cheapies, and of course we've mentioned a couple already, but there's probably about 7 or 8 cheapies here that you could genuinely downgrade to that I think are relatively good options. And of course we're looking at schedule and things like that. But Matty, Jeremiah Fears, we've had a bit of a say on him. What's your thoughts on him? Because he plays 16 games over the next 4 weeks. He's starting. No Jordan Poole is probably the really big kicker for me that really elevates him up the rankings a little bit. What do you think?
Like the guy's a third string point guard that suddenly has opportunity with Poole out, with obviously a lot of their cap being held out in DeJounte Murray. The guy's a baller, and I can get around it at his bargain price. I do think that he is as good of a buy as your Jormans and your Reed Shepherds and all those were at the start of the year. It just took a Jordan Poole injury for him to come into the equation. So, they are playing a lot of games. The schedule's elite. And, honestly, like if he has an Isaiah Thomas career or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised. So for the first year of SuperCoach, when the Pels have been sucking, you take an offensive weapon, but I think he is going to have those games where he bangs out 5 or 6 points from getting so many negatives from turnovers and missed shots. But fuck it, I'm a punter. Yeah, look, Fears is good.
I mean, when he hasn't had a single digit game since like the 4th game of the season. Since he got the start, he's had 2 20s and then a 12-10, 10-16. So realistically, even if he does go absolute floor and we repeat that this week, he's still looking at 50 points, which I think for a guy that's priced at $5 million, you'd be more than happy to bank that horse, wouldn't you?
Yes.
What about, let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets because there's a couple of options there. Matty's man, Igor Diorman, or maybe our preferred option in Noah Clowney, who could be getting the minutes there. Looks like he's slotted in at the 4 spot with Michael Porter Jr. sliding down with Cam Thomas out. So talk to us. Noah Clowney or Igor Diorman?
I like Clowney. I really do. So you look at the way that he's scored over the past week, 14, 15, 15, 14, and 1 today. Had an absolute shocker. He did have OG Anunoby guarding him, though, and that's probably the elite of the elite when you're talking on-ball defenders in the NBA. If you're rocking a 15-game average and you're playing 4 games in a week, that's 60 points. That's cash gen. He's priced at an average of 6 or 7. 5.2 mil. There's cash gen to be made there. Brooklyn Nets are not doing anything this year. I feel as though they're trying to promote his value and trying to move off him come trade season or trade deadline. So, wheels up Noah Clowney.
Yeah, like it. Rate it. I think I prefer him to Igor Diorman, but in saying that, like Diorman's now starting, Matty, so maybe a little bit more appeal there for him, and he's still sub $5 million, isn't he? So he frees up a little bit more cash.
Yeah, Diorman was kind of good today. So, I just bet on him plus the 10 points. Obviously got the 10, 4, and 3. I mean, that's fine. I think what I've been looking at is his minutes increase each and every game, which is, I suppose, the opportunity for Diorman. We all know my stance on guards when it comes to SuperCoach, but when it's cheap, I'm on board. I just don't want to waste a forward spot on somebody that, I don't know. Like, I just don't think too much of Clowney from what I've seen, and I don't even know if the Nets do, which, again, is probably evident in what Horse said. Like, I think he thinks they're only playing him to trade him on. Like, Darren Sharp's a lot better player, I suppose. If you're moving people around, and at least Darren Sharp gets the like. I don't know if there's been a game this year that he hasn't got some blocks. So
He's done a hamstring today.
Oh, did he? Yeah. I just mean like he's like a better player. I just don't know if Noah Clowney, there's like ever any chance of opportunity outside of playing him minutes to trade him. Like,
yep.
True.
That's fair.
Let's move on to Jalen Tyson from the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, we're seeing a lot of a chat in the WhatsApp, in the Patreon WhatsApp at the moment. Like all the guys are flying in there at the moment. They're doing really well. But a lot of talk around Jalen Tyson. He has been fantastic, horse, since he's come into the starting lineup. He's obviously started while Garland was out, while Hunter was out, and of course now that Garland is back, he only started because Garland missed the back-to-back for Cleveland this week. So my concern around Jalen Tyson is that he drops back to the bench, plays that 21 to 24 minute role off the bench. And you know, when you're off the bench, I think that the concern when you don't have starters minutes is that if your shot doesn't fall off the bench, you can get hooked really quickly and end up just playing 16, 17 minutes when things aren't going. And those kind of games can hurt you with a guy like Tyson. What are your thoughts?
In the 2 games that he's come off the bench in his last 6, he scored 14 and 14. In the 4 that he started, he's gone 24, 22, 21 and 31. So if he's starting, he's good for what would appear as though a 20-plus score. But even if he's coming off the bench, he's still making money for us. So I still think it's a good cash-generating option if you're looking for someone at your small forward position.
Yeah, and he's definitely not a bad option. I'm just a little bit concerned that the minutes and the opportunity dry up somewhat. You've only got 3 trades if you're not going to boost. So yeah, you got to, and especially with guys like Fears and Con Knippel, who we've already spoken about. He's in this list as well. I honestly would rather pay up for Knippel, knowing the opportunity without Brandon Miller Mattrix is there. It's very clear, and Con has looked like a third year. He's looked like a third-year player this year so far with how much responsibility he's taken on since LaMelo's been out and Brandon Miller's been out. He's been awesome. Probably I wouldn't say pick of the draft, but he's definitely been the guy that's taken the most on his shoulders.
Yeah, I think he's a better option than Jalen Tyson. If we leave that there, especially with, you're right, with like Miller and LaMelo and stuff have left. I think that I'll find a way to bring in Knippel because, you know, opportunity meets talent, and, you know, 4.5 mil or whatever he is at the moment. Like, is he 5.5? Yeah, 6.5 mil. Like that's honestly decent. Yeah, I don't mind Jalen Tyson, but I just think Knippel's the pick out of those. Even Josh Minnow, like blokes like that. So.
Yeah, he's on this list as well, Josh Minot, but like he's had a pretty ordinary week, to be fair, Horse. Like, he played 4 games, he got 40-odd points. There were games, I think 2 games, he played less than 17 minutes because he just either ended up in foul trouble or got hooked and couldn't hit a shot. So is that a concern for you moving forward with him?
It is a little bit, but what saves him for me is that he's got that starter's position locked in. And if he can work out how not to foul and how to impact the games in more ways than just playing good on-ball D, he could be really solid for us. Like today, he only scored a 3 against Orlando, which, yeah, it's dog shit. But if you look at the 2 games before that, he's gone 18 and 27. So if he can work out his shot or just work out ways to be involved in other ways or in ways that you get some counting stats, he could be really nice and a really good cash generator for us. So I wouldn't be selling him.
And the last one we'll talk about is AJ Mitchell. 7.79 million is a stretch calling him a cheapie, but he's made 2.5 million so far for anybody who took a punt on him. He's been fantastic off the bench. He's fallen into a starter's role today where he ended up with a 24 and 5 or something with a couple of steals. Matty, he's been amazing. 3.1% owned at the moment currently. He is the 3rd most purchased player this week as of right now. But Lou Dort, we don't know where he is. And correct me if I'm wrong, Horse, J-Dub is close.
He's getting close. I know Kiz is in the chat. He's a big OKC man. Potentially the end of the week or start of next week, we're going to see J-Dub back.
So does that put a line through AJ Mitchell for you with Lou Dort floating around with that trap injury and then J-Dub potentially back as well?
Yeah, there's just too many factors. And, like, honestly, probably the best Belgian basketball player I've ever seen play. But outside of that, yeah, I've got zero interest. I've been streaming him in fantasy leagues and everything like that. But, Yeah, just too many question marks. There might be enough opportunity in the next 3 days, but you know what I mean. Like when Aaron Wiggins or somebody like that pops off, AJ gets less. Yeah, there you go. Aaron Wiggins also back this week. When blokes like that pop off, then AJ just gets a little less burn and everything like that. There's just too many factors. Whereas you look at Knipple, and yeah, there is factors. There's LaMelo being out. There's Brandon Miller being out. But they look a bit more stagnant than, J-Dubs was supposed to be back this week. They're sort of pushing it back to a conversation that we're going to have next week and everything like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's just too many moving parts, and OKC's schedule just dried up. So,
for me, I can see why people would, given that he's still got a -10 break even as well. So if he scores you your 60 this week off your 3 games, you're still going to make some pretty good coin. And then say if J-Dub doesn't come back till next week, you could potentially make another mil out of him and then move off him. So there's pros and cons for him anyway.
For sure. And if you had him last week or the week before, I think Theo in the chat said had AJ from the start, going to sell him next week. Absolutely. And that's the ideal situation. But no, definitely not a purchase for us this week. We mentioned Derek Queen as well, Horse. We haven't mentioned him in this section, but of course he's definitely one of the probably top-end options, I guess, to buy as well for the Pels. Him and Fears seem to be the cheapy options. He's got a -3 break even at the moment. Funnily enough, he's the most purchased player this week.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I guess the last 3 games he's gone 29, 16 and 17. So we can see there that there is definite upside in Derek Queen. But again, it's that playing alongside Zion. I saw someone in the chat, might have been Chris Gray before, saying that Zion won't be back until the back end of this week. If I had to choose between Queen and Fears, I'm picking Fears.
Yeah, I think just longevity in role and consistency in role is what I'm going to be picking, especially when you're picking a guy because he is on a 4-game week. I think Queen isn't locked into his role. There's a lot of question marks. I think Matty mentioned at the start when we were talking about him, there's a lot of question marks around his role with Zion and how that rotation looks. There's no question marks around Jeremiah Fears. So that I'll probably just go in that direction if I had to choose between the two. All right, that is the ranking the cheapies, the hot topic for the week. Let's move into trade targets for round 4.
Targets acquired.
Like we just mentioned, Derek Queen, number 1. He is the most purchased player, 3.7% of people getting him. Of course, we are recording only about 3 hours after lockout opens, so this will update a little bit in the morning. If you don't follow me on Instagram or X, I'll put up the updates pretty close to game 1, so go and check them out as well as the break-evens, and we put a bit of a write-up in Patreon for pods and things like that. So if you want all that, links in the description below for less than $10 a month. Denny Avdia is the second most purchased player, 13.97 million. He obviously coming off a really nice week and a really nice string of scores for Portland, Matty. He seems like the number 1, a very clear number 1 option now in Portland. He's getting the start over Jeremy Grant. What are your thoughts? How does this all play out? Do you think Denny is the guy moving forward, and do you think he can hold this kind of production?
I think he kind of is the most appealing option for SuperCoach. Looking at Drew Holiday recently, he nearly looks like the number 1 option. But look, Denny's been fantastic, which I wasn't on my bingo card at the start of the year. But look, Denny Avdia, especially with his counting stats, is probably the best SuperCoach option. And then when you start to look at when the schedule gets really good, what are you going to do? You're going to get the best SuperCoach option. So, yeah, I 100% get it. And I think people are probably getting off those sort of players like Jimmy Butler and blokes like that, where the schedule starts to get a touch worse or there's been question marks about injury. Yeah, look, Denny's a fine get.
Yep, absolutely. Starting to creep up, 4.1% now, 4.5% for Queen. So, yeah, there's starting to see a bit of movement here at the moment. Now, AJ Mitchell here is number 3. 3.6% of people are buying AJ Mitchell this week with a -10 break even at 7.7 mil. We've given our thoughts on him. We can move on. Donovan Mitchell, though, Horse. Now, Cleveland come into a 4-4-3 or 4-3-4-4. It's a pretty nice run of games. Donovan Mitchell's been big. He's been putting up nearly 30 points a game, actual NBA points a game.
Yep.
But the peripheral stats and the missed shots and turnovers kind of deter me just a tad. It's kind of like a better version of what Steph Curry's given us so far. Like he goes on heaters, like a lot of good guards do in the league. But he can have those games where his shot doesn't fall, and then he can't fall back on the rebounds and the assists and the defender stats that he just doesn't get.
No, bang on. And he's actually coming into a stretch this week where he averages only 20 SuperCoach points per game against Miami, averages 20 against Toronto, and averages 19.7 against Memphis, which coincidentally, they're in the lower tier of what he would average per game out of all teams in the NBA. So I know he's only got a break even of 60. So if you're looking at it from a cash gen point of view, with the potential upside of him popping off, no worries. But I wouldn't be, if you're bringing him in, I'm not slapping a captaincy option on him. That's far too risky for me.
And they play Miami in a back-to-back, right? Like first 2 games of the week. And Davion Mitchell's got to be one. We mentioned it in the fantasy preview. He's got to be one of the best on-ball guard defenders in the NBA. So, I can guarantee you that Davion Mitchell will be the one chasing Donovan Mitchell around the court. And of course, they play switch defense. So, you can't guarantee he's going to be on him the whole game. But they'll be doing their best to make sure that Davion Mitchell stays on Donovan Mitchell. No relation. So, that concerns me as well. That puts me off just a tad with that, who's guarding him there. So, proceed with caution on Donovan Mitchell. Luka Doncic. It's I can't believe it's taken us this long to really talk about him, Matty. Usually relevant SuperCoach circles all the time. And, he is the 5th most purchased player this week at 2.6%. He's coming in with 136 break even, but it is a 4-game week. So it's a week where you probably want him. But how do you feel about Luka and the chance that he potentially rests on the Lakers back-to-back at the end of the week?
I don't know if he will rest, but I do think that he's probably a really good pod captain choice for Wemby. We saw Wemby, and we haven't talked too much about Wemby tonight, but we saw Wemby have a bit of a struggle streak a bit last week. I think he's looked good next to Austin Reeves. I'm not really expecting LeBron this week. Mate, Luka is just one of those players that can absolutely pop off. Honestly, just one of those players, much like Jokic, that can drop 70 SuperCoach points in a game. I can't find a reason for him not to be the target this week as somebody that has Jokic and Wemby. I just have to find a way to get Luka in my team, and that's the sole purpose of my trades this week, to be completely honest.
I would have to make too many sacrifices to get him in. I'd have to trade Wemby or trade Jokic out and get him back again next week. It becomes a bit of a mess. I've got so much cash tied up in Giannis, Wemby, and Jokic that I feel like I just don't have the money for a gun guard anymore. I'm working with a James Harden or a guy around that kind of 15, 16 mil mark. I just don't have the money to get to Luka. But if you have SGA, hit the question, and we've had it a bit in the live chat, Matty, would you go SGA to Luka this week?
Yes, I would. I genuinely think I would with the trades I've got, as long as you're comfortable with your cheapies and there's nobody you really feel like you're missing out with those negative break evens that might continue on for 3 or 4 weeks, then 100% shade of Luka. Honestly, Luka's a 1-week play also. He's got a 2-game week next week. It might genuinely be shade of Luka and then Luka back to somebody like Shea.
Yeah, Shea's got a 4-game week when Luka goes on a 2-gamer. So it's kind of nice to shuffle between them. Is that a tactic you'd use, Horse? Just kind of these little pivot trades where you go 1 for 1, back and forth?
Yes.
Fair.
Good. Nikola Jokic on a 3-game week is the 6th most purchased player, which is completely fine. I'm still not talking you out of that. People are just like, nah, he hurt me too much this week. I need to get this guy in my team. And I do not disagree. You just need him, I think.
You just have to have him. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he can score. Honestly, if we get to the end of the week and Jokic is a top 5 player this week again, even though he's on a 3-game week, I would not be surprised at all. Honestly, it's probably paying $1.20. That's how good this guy is. You just need him.
He was nearly 28 mil, and he made money this week.
Yep. And he's got a break even of 111, which and honestly, he could probably score 150.
Yep.
In a 3-game week. So he'll probably make money again this week. So just wild. And that just shows how good he is compared to the rest. Will Richard, for some reason, is the 7th most purchased player. Obviously coming off a okay week last week. He gets 62. No?
Big
No.
Dick had one huge game. And I'm a huge fan of Will Richard, but we expect Steph to play. He popped off on a game where Steph and Jimmy Butler sat. It's a bit of fool's gold, to quote the NBL show.
Yeah. Shout out to Hammer. Hopefully he's watching. We talked about Jalen Tyson. He's the 8th most purchased. Giannis is the 9th most purchased for good reason. It's hard to talk anyone out of getting Giannis.
Get Johnny in.
Yeah, and Cedric Coward is the 10th most purchased, which is completely fine as well. On a 3-game week, I don't know whether I'd be getting Coward, though, buying him this week. He does have a 2 break even, so he will make a little bit of money for you. But yeah, I feel like maybe I'd try and attack the 4-game weeker a little bit more. But let's have a chat about the traded out players. Hey, we've got Dylan Harper for good reason. Keyshawn George, people have just gone, nah, seen enough. They're gone, get him in last week as the most purchased player and then flick him. That's how hard it is to play NBA SuperCoach. Yeah, that's it. Just you don't perform, you're gone.
I was sad about trading him out last week. I just got lucky. I just needed that extra 2 mil.
When everyone's getting him, Mattrix pivots, gets the top score in the crown because he sells Keyshawn George. Well done.
I sold Keyshawn. Thanks, King.
Goated. VJ Edgecombe is the 3rd most sold player. We've had a chat about him. We've kind of got mixed opinions on that. Either way, I think you can probably get away with it. Austin Reeves, people are deciding to sell him after not playing a game last week. That hurts. I think ideally you kind of caught onto the news before game 1 that he wasn't playing and changed your trades because we had that news before game 1 last week. So, hey, you're going to get that in the Patreon if you want it. It's in the WhatsApp. We've got Kizza doing the hard yards for the team news as well in the WhatsApp. So nothing slips through Kizza. So if you want to make sure you're on top of the NBA news, $10 a month and you can get inside the WhatsApp and have access to that at your fingertips. Mattis Bazelis, people are sick of him for 7.6 mil. We spoke about him. I'd probably try and hold on a little bit longer. Maybe I'm just an emotional believer in Mattis Bazelis because I was so high on him in nearly every format this year. I think he will get better and better as the year goes on. Victor Wembanyama, -2%. He's the 6th most sold player. Victor Wembanyama on a 4-game week is the 6th most sold player in NBA SuperCoach. Horse, talk to us. Talk some sense into these people, mate.
Don't be stupid. Keep him. He is good basketball player. That's how I feel like I need to talk to people that try and sell Wemby.
Mm-hmm. Matty, any words of wisdom?
Honestly, guys, he did have 1 bad week, but we're talking 2 weeks ago as somebody that was captainable on a 3-game week. I don't think De'Aaron Fox coming back impacts him that much. To be honest, maybe Stephon Castle being, dare I say, a little bit more ball dominant heavy probably impacted him more. Dylan Harper, he looked really nice when he was on the floor as well. Of course, Dylan went down. Wemby come back. And are we ever again going to see a 25-point game from Harry Barnes? Probably not. And that was one of the games that Wemby kind of struggled in. So, look, guys, Wemby is the best captain option this week, and you trade him out. Yeah, delete up.
Tough. Yep, agreed. Larry Markkinen, Steph Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Maxey. And Tyrese Maxey, of course, was a 1-week play, so completely fine to move off him. Shai to Luka would probably be the trade that people are making at 22 mil. And Steph Curry, yeah, he can get out of my team even if he's on a 4-game week because he's annoyed me. So, and sometimes you've got to trade based on emotion, based on pure emotion. Nothing to do with stats. If they're pissing you off, you get rid of them.
Yeah, don't be logical. Just,
no.
Yep, get rid of them.
And we've got the king of vibes here that took out the week. So if vibes is going to tell you anything, then you need to just go on your gut sometimes.
You just trust your gut. You know what? If Steph Curry has pissed in your pocket, change your pants.
Goodness. Interesting one.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one before.
All right, let's do captains.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
Hopefully none of these guys piss in your pocket that we talk about. It's gonna at the moment. Jokic is still the most captain player. Of course, people are still basically left it to last week. From last week, considering lockout's been so close. But the obvious options, in my opinion, are Giannis and Wemby this week. Horse. Mm-hmm. That can you talk me out of either of those two?
No, I can't. Wemby, Dallas, great matchup. 2 Charlotte games. Great matchups. And then Lakers, really good matchup. None of those teams really have anyone that can clamp up Giannis. Really like him. Doncic, 4-game week as well. against Charlotte as well. Like he could go absolutely ham, but any one of Doncic, Giannis, or Jokic for me, they're my top three.
I'm just looking at matchups right now. Two Golden State matchups for Wemby is going to be really interesting because I haven't watched it close enough, but watching and seeing how they defend him, because Draymond Green probably one of the better defenders, even though he's only 6'8", like one of the better defenders in the league at guarding big men. But Wemby could literally bend over and still shoot over the top of Draymond Green. Like how do they play that? Do they get Al Horford on him? What's the Matty? What do you reckon their plan is? Because it's is it a back-to-back? They've got him on as well. No, it's not. They've got a day break. How do they play this?
I think it's more about, like, you know how, like, you see those highlights about how Wemby crosses somebody up, and I'm probably looking at it more from a Spurs standpoint than a Golden State standpoint. I think they're just going to get Wemby the ball in that low post, in which case I don't think anybody, let alone Draymond Green, can stop him there. And I think that's just a recipe for, multiple tech fouls for Draymond Green. If he's trying to do it, I think Al Horford is a better defender in the low post than Draymond Green's going to be. But, like, Wemby could legit just drop the ball in from there.
And you said tech fouls. I was about to say, like, if you can find a market from a bookie that has like 2+ tech fouls and ejection for Draymond Green in this game, it's going to happen, I reckon.
$10.
Yeah. Actually, you're probably not getting any value on that because it's nearly a lock. But yeah, no, look, I think, where are you leaning this week, Horse? Because you've got to make a decision on whether you're going to go with Giannis or Wemby or Luka. Like, what direction are you thinking at the moment?
Giannis.
Yeah, you got the Giannis is going to have to come up against the best center in the league in Ryan Kalkbrenner. So that could be a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, could be a really tough matchup. Really like it.
Miles Plumlee off the bench.
Could be. It could be. You never know.
Mr. Diabate. That's Mason Plumlee.
Yeah. I actually always mix up Mason and Miles. So he gets to, the best part is Giannis gets to play against DeAndre Ayton in the final game of the week. I'm really looking forward to that matchup. That's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, it's hard because NBA SuperCoach, you're looking at captaincy and you go, fuck, I'm just picking the same 4 players over and over again.
But that's because they're the 4 best players for SuperCoach. They're the 4 biggest, like, the best risk. If you are risk averse, the best, I suppose, anti-pod option to one of these guys is Luka, because he can pop off. But as somebody that captained Steph Curry in week 2, it comes with its risks.
Yeah, and he takes a lot of shots. These high-volume shot guards take a lot of shots, like Donovan Mitchell, and it's probably exactly the reason why I'm not overly keen on him. Like, you get, they're going to put up big scores. They're going to put up 30s and potentially even 40s, and we know Luka's going to do that. I'm not referring to Luka so much, but it's these Steph Currys, Donovan Mitchells, Devin Bookers that put up a lot of shots and miss a lot of shots and turn the ball over heaps, and they turn a 30-point game, actual NBA game, into like a SuperCoach score of 23 because nothing falls. So, yeah, that's the risk with guards, and I think you're onto something, Matty, when you talked at the start of the season about just loading up on the big men that don't hurt you that much in that capacity, don't take a shitload of crap shots. And Steph Curry's been the perfect example of that, a guy that's really been punished by the negatives.
Yeah, but if you had him that first week when he's on an elite run, like, you have probably nearly a different mentality when it comes to Curry, but Curry's going to have 2 shit weeks and 2 unreal weeks. And I just think your Giannis's, your Wembys, and your Jokic's are going to have a lot more good weeks than they are bad weeks. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think if you're looking for the safe option, you've got Giannis and you've got Wemby. Honestly, even Jokic. Like, tell me if Jokic doesn't outscore Luka this week, you're not surprised. But that's just because of the way that SuperCoach has scored this year. But at times when these guards pop off, everybody's going to be captaining everybody else, and you're looking to win the weekly prize for the week. You're probably not going to win the weekly prize captaining Wemby or Giannis. Like, it's going to be a week where they kind of shit the bed and you've captained a Luka, or you've captained a Donovan Mitchell or somebody like that. So it just depends the way that you play SuperCoach.
And I guess we'll answer a question to finish things up from Wogstar. Are we thinking that Fox being back slows Wemby down? And that's a consideration, Horse, I guess you need to make, like the lineup isn't exactly the same as it was, but do you think this is a factor?
Yes, it is a factor. I think it helps Wemby. We saw the last game, he got clamped up to an extent without Fox. With Fox back in the lineup, with how quick he is, how good he is with his handles, his ability to dribble, penetrate, it opens up so much more of the court for Wemby now. There were times where Wemby was sitting in the corner and just dropping and getting offensive rebounds and finishing off anything that fell off the rim. So, yeah, I do think it does affect Wemby, and I think it's in a positive way.
Love it. You heard it here first. And of course, guys, if you want all of your questions answered, there's a Q&A every week. We also drop pod watch articles, buy, hold, sells coming your way. Captaincy article, Maddie's already gone up, hasn't it, this week? So plenty more content from us inside the Patreon, as well as the WhatsApp chat and other stuff. So get involved there. If you want to support the show and you want to hopefully beat your mates and climb up the rankings like Mr. Horse here at the 140. So I'll be living vicariously through a Horse at least until I overtake him in round 13. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But guys, thanks for tuning in. If you hit the subscribe button, it really helps us out. Make sure you don't miss any episodes in the future as well. And for those of you on audio, hit that follow button, leave us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck for week 4. We'll be back to wrap it all up and talk week 5. Catch you then.
Cheerio.
Peace.